Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is so good. And before we jump in, I have some exciting news to share. If you've ever wondered where you're blocking money, this is for you. I've created a free quiz to diagnose your money wounds so you can heal them and unblock yourself to receive more money. Just go to moneywoundsquiz.com and answer 6 quick questions to get your insanely accurate and potent results. And if you're loving my vibe and want to work one-on-one to call in more feminine energy wealth, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on social media or go to emilywilcox.com to learn more. Hello, and welcome back to the M Makes Money show. I have some new podcasting equipment, and it is my first time recording a show with it. I feel a little odd, a little naked, to be honest, because a lot of times I have my headphones on just to check the audio quality, and the microphone's all up in my business, 1 inch away from my mouth. And this new one is one that sits on my desk. And so as I'm leaning back in my chair, I'm feeling very far away from it. But also my other microphone was a bougie little bitch, honestly. It was expensive and fancy, and it connected to this preamp. And it was if you didn't sound check it regularly, sometimes it would sound really bad. So it had the potential to have great sound, but also sometimes I would just jump into Zoom meetings and then have people complain about my microphone sounding super weird, and then just have to switch off of it. And just feel I am not a sound engineer. I don't want to have to do the check, 1, 2, 3, and turn a bunch of knobs and stuff like that before I get going. So I just got a fancy Blue Yeti microphone. It's actually pink in color, but Blue Yeti is the brand, off of Amazon. I know a lot of podcasters that have this, and it's very plug and play, and I've been testing it, and the sound quality is good. So yay me for simplifying life. All right. I am here to share April celebrations and stretches. If I had to label April with just 2 words, it would be creative vortex. Just the insane amount of creative energy flowing through me and my household in April was pretty unreal. So maybe that's where we'll start. All right. So I have been feeling the nudge to explore some different business models for my coaching business. And initially those nudges did not feel like the right timing. And then all of a sudden April hit, and it was yes, it's now. And my goodness, I have built out 2 just really big structures that totally change my business and how you can get access to me and learn from me. And they're not going to be launching until June 7th. So I don't want to share all the details yet, because this podcast episode is going to air before then. But the thing I'm most excited about is that they're at really accessible price points. So I have never worked so hard behind the scenes and put so much into building something without talking about it, without selling it, and to have it be something at such a low price point. It's just very revolutionary. It's very different for me. And I know it's what I'm being called into. And it's kind of funny because I didn't connect the dots on this until later, when I was already deep in the creative vortex. But I remembered that one of my mentors, and this was a year ago, was talking about how at this time of year, starting in March 2023, Pluto moves into Aquarius for the first time in basically forever, first time in our lifetime. And that it really signals this shift in systems and structures that is very much needed. And that it's gone from a very rigid systems and to more individualistic. And I don't know. I feel I'm butchering this, to be honest, because I'm not an astrology person. But when I realized that this was coinciding with what I was feeling in my own business, it felt very resonant. Oh, of course these systems and structures are changing. Of course I'm being called to put in place so much more, like building out more than I've ever built before, including like different tech platforms and such, even though it's for something like very low ticket. It just makes sense because it's going to allow me to serve in a much bigger way. And as you guys know, my mission is helping us to heal our money wounds and community so that we can call in more conscious wealth and collectively up-level the planet, right? And also, I understand that there are some people that aren't entrepreneurs that don't really have a way to work with me closely right now. And a lot of my price points are not super accessible. Like it makes sense if you're running a business that's doing 20, 30, 50, 80,000, $100,000 months. But if you're someone who is just getting started or not quite as far along in your wealth building journey, this is going to be an incredible opportunity to work with me at a super accessible price point. Okay, just getting a little swig of water here out of my gorgeous crystal water bottle. So the other thing, like as if that weren't enough when we're talking creative vortex, there were two other insane creations that came to be in April. One is something I actually didn't think I was going to get to share on this podcast. And I'm so excited that I got the green light, is that my husband, Jeff, wrote a screenplay. Now, if you don't know what a screenplay is, it's basically writing a movie. So it's not a play. It's what they call the written version of a movie. And he had been working on this prior to April, but he actually finished it in April. And so I got to read it for the first time. And you guys, it is so freaking good. Like blew me away good. And it like made me feel closer to my husband in a really cool way. And I'm just like so proud of him that he followed that nudge and that he really opened up his own creative vortex and just really went for it. And he also submitted the screenplay to like multiple festivals. And when you submit to these different festivals, you can also pay like a small fee to get what they call coverage, which is basically feedback. So someone reads your script, like independent of the festival, and gives you critique or constructive feedback or what have you. So he did that and got feedback back that was just like overwhelmingly positive and very specific. Like it would say on page 45, you did this really well. And this was super hard to do. And it had such cinematic quality. And it just was so affirming to what I think we both already knew, which was like, yeah, it is. It's really, really good. And I'm just so impressed because I actually know a lot of people who have like written books. And I would say the predominant narrative is that it's kind of hard, that you have to sort of force yourself to do it, or some of it flows, but then you get stuck and like all of this resistance comes up. And that just was not Jeff's experience at all. Like the words just flowed out of him. He was going on like several hour walks every day for exercise. And while he would be walking, he would just like be getting download after download for the screenplay and sharing it in like voice notes on his phone so that he could come back home and transcribe it. And so it's just really cool for both of us because, you know, the past few years have been a real right sizing of work for me. So, you know, many of you, and especially like my clients hear me talk about this, like I only work 20-hour weeks. And that feels really, really good. Not because I don't like work. I love work. But I also want to be a really present mom. I want to make sure that my cup is full, that I'm taking good care of my body, like all the things. So I work, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 a.m. until like 2:30, right? With a break for lunch. And then on Wednesdays, I don't usually take any meetings. So what happened in April is like, because we both were really into what we were doing, we basically just worked every night and on the weekends. So not going to lie, of course, we were still at the softball games and t-ball games and all the things, but we kind of hermited up, and whenever we could, we were working. And it also feels really good to own that, and that there's nothing wrong with it. Like, to me, the reason that hustle culture is yick is because when I was hustling and grinding, I didn't feel like, oh, this is so aligned. I'm in such a creative vortex. This is exactly what I want to be doing right now. Like, this feels so great. It was more like, I have to do this. And so it felt like a fun reclamation in a way to be able to say like, yeah, we worked a ton of hours, but you know why? Because we wanted to, because it felt so good and it felt so right. And it felt like exactly what we were meant to be doing during that time. And if all of that wasn't enough, I also, and this might have been in March actually, where I like received the inspiration, but I got this really clear download for my dream social media service. Like, if I were to hire an agency to do my social media for me, or if I were to hire somebody on my team to just fully outsource my social media, this is exactly how I would want it done. And when the idea came, it was so specific, like even like which pieces of software to use and everything. It was so wild. And I was like, wow, that is such a cool idea. And so I like kind of sat with it and let myself think about how cool it was. And then I'm like, I don't have any bandwidth for this. Like, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to do like my own little mini version of it with Ella, my assistant, and that'll be good. And then Ella was off the first week in April for Holy Week. And she came back from vacation. And one of the first things she said to me was, I don't think I can do your social media anymore. And in that moment, I was like, okay, universe, like, I see you. I think you want me to really like start pursuing this idea. But I still was hesitant. And then Ella quit. And she quit for personal reasons. Like, her family decided that it just wasn't, they didn't want her working full time. But she's been with me almost 2 years. She's edited this podcast for such a long time. Like, she's, just been an incredible part of the M Makes Money, Emily Wilcox coaching team. And so that was, a big transition in April and definitely one of my stretches. And I really knew that it meant that I was supposed to be pursuing this done for you social media service. Like it or not, whether or not I think I have bandwidth, I just surrendered. Like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to be doing this, then fine, then use me as a channel. Like, you gave me the idea, I will do my part. Like, I know how to build an agency. And I've been using social media inside and out for the last 2 years. And so I do have this dual perspective, and I've helped a lot of my clients actually with their social media presence and with LinkedIn and all the things. And so it's like, I know it and I have all of the pieces, and I just wasn't planning on directing more of my time and energy toward that, but I'm surrendered to it. So I ended up spending also time in April, like figuring out the branding and creating the logo and putting together a website and starting to map out the process flow for this social media company that is going to be called Flowshul. And more to come, because essentially where we're at right now is that Jeff and I are the first beta clients. And so we're assembling the team and we're going through it as clients, me for my coaching business, him for our agency. And assuming all of that goes well in May, then we'll be opening it up in June for some free or discounted beta clients, and then kind of going from there. So it's wild to me. I'm like, nobody in their right mind would sign up for like doing all of these big projects all at the same time. But that's where I'm so surrendered to the fact that like, it's not that much me. It is me. I'm an important cooperative component. I am co-creating this with universe, but this is really what the divine is asking for. And I just don't believe that I would be tapped on the shoulder to be doing this and like really be feeling it the way that I am if it wasn't meant for me to carry it forward. And so just trusting that all of the components are assembling like the right team, and that it's all working out for all of our highest good, and that it's going to be the social media service of my dreams, and that for like many clients as well. In April, I also got 2 new one-on-one clients. Just I feel so grateful for this work. And I swear, every client that comes to me is just like such a hell yes. Like, I love them so much. I can see their vision so clearly. I can feel their power. I can feel their heart and how much they care. And it's really fun to help them move their business forward and, dig into the vulnerable stuff as well. And my clients come in and they're like ready and willing to go deep right away, which I'm super grateful for because we have so much fun and we're able to just go there and get to the heart of things so quickly. All right, what else? What else? Okay, another company that we work pretty closely with approached us about potentially acquiring our agency. We're just in early talks. Who knows what will happen with it? But, it always feels good to be desired, right? It's like when somebody asks you out, even if you're taken, like you still take it as a compliment. So that was a fun little plot twist in April that we're just continuing to explore and staying open to the possibility of whatever comes from that. Southern California has had the most gorgeous wildflower super bloom. And apparently, I've seen multiple articles about this now and actually pictures. You can see it from space, you guys. Like, there are so many gorgeous, bright colored flowers that you can see it from like the NASA satellites. How insane is that? So you've been hearing me moan about how much rain we've had. And now we're getting one of many silver linings, which is just a gorgeous super bloom. And we have our own little mini super bloom in our backyard. Our hillside is covered with these tiny, bright, lavender purple flowers. And it's just so fun. It makes me so happy. It puts a smile on my face. Everywhere we drive around the hill, especially Faye and I are just like, oh, look over there. It's so gorgeous. I really should get out and do a photo shoot in the wildflowers. And also, I'm not really sure that will happen, but we'll see. I'm open to the possibility. All right, let me jump down to some stretches because there's still lots more to celebrate. Stretchy stuff in April. We have a business partner in our agency, which is not something I talk about a lot, not because I'm trying to hide it, but it just doesn't come up very often in conversation. And he's not really involved, which is why it doesn't come up. But we had a pretty significant disagreement that came to a head in April, and it really gave Jeff and I so much more clarity about what our energetic boundaries are and just what we want that relationship to look like moving forward. And so, although I'm saying it was a stretch, because it wasn't pleasant, but the outcome of it, I'm really grateful for because everything feels so much cleaner now energetically than it did before. And, those things are not easy and they happen on our behalf. And this definitely was that. Ella quitting, which I already mentioned, but, just trying to get somebody new up to speed, and you don't realize all of the things that one person knows how to do in your business. And, listen, I will preach till the end of time about SOPs and process documentation, but it is harder when it's someone on your team who's doing this stuff. You don't even know what they're doing. And then, I didn't create great accountability around making sure that she process documented everything. And so a lot of things that she knew how to do left with her, and we're having to try and figure it out. I also had a big PowerPoint rebrand project that I was doing for our agency. And I went with a freelancer that I've worked with multiple times before, and I've always been happy with her work. And I gave her 4 weeks to do it, which felt like a really generous timeline. And then she waited until the very end of the 4 weeks, did part of it. I didn't like it. And I gave her the feedback in a constructive way of here's what we need to do. And then she just quit the project. She's like, I don't have time for this. So that was an unfortunate plot twist. Again, silver lining is then I thought about another designer I know, reached out to her, told her I needed it done in like a week. And she did it. And it's so much better. It's so much better. It's actually the sales proposal that we put together for brands that want to work with our agency. And we just used the new design for a proposal that we're giving tomorrow. And I'm super proud of it. I love the way it looks. I love all the information that's being communicated. And so it all worked out, but I definitely did have a moment where it was like eloquent. And then like Tasha quit that project, like almost at the same time. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like, universe, I mean, I'm trying to surrender. And also, can you just like, let me feel supported by people? Would that be too much to ask? I would say there's also were some stretchy moments in April where I felt overwhelmed at times. Like if I zoom out too much with all the things I have going, I will start to feel very overwhelmed. And so I really had to like walk myself back into the visual is like somebody who's playing multiple chessboards at the same time. And it's like, rather than trying to think about all 5 chess games and like 10 moves ahead, and then you go to the next board and you figure out the next move. And so I've had to continue to like zoom back in and just be like, okay, what's one thing I can do right now to move this project forward, just to keep myself out of overwhelm. And it's interesting because I've also had a few moments of anxiety in April where I'm like, what if I'm doing all of this work for these 2 new big offers in my coaching business? And like, it wasn't a what if nobody buys, because I know people will buy, but it was kind of like, what if it's not as successful as I think it's going to be? And it's interesting because I haven't dealt with that too much in my business, but I think it's mostly because for the most part, I've started selling things right away. And so then if nobody bought, it was like, well, okay, on to the next thing. But in this scenario, I've put in like probably 20 solid hours of work and content creation and slides and videos and hypnosis audios and recording guided ceremonies and like the whole 9 yards, creating custom workbooks for these projects. And, and I haven't even talked about selling it. So I had to walk myself through those, oh God, moments and just, again, like trust. Like, I just don't believe that I would have been guided to these projects if it wasn't in alignment with my goals and vision for this business. So also, if all of you want to jump into these offers once they're available, that would make me so happy. And it would prevent my worst fear from coming true. Anyway, in April, I also tried a new Pilates studio called Coreology because I kind of wanted like a little bit more intense of a workout than what I was getting. And I ended up hating it. If my current Pilates studio is like a 3 out of 10 in intensity, I feel like this other place was like a 10 out of 10. And what I really wanted was like a 6 or a 7. It was very hardcore. Any of you who do spin, I think will understand this because they also have a spin studio in there, but like they wear these headsets with like a microphone on it and they're like trying to give you a motivational speech for the whole hour. And there's like a lot of counting. So it was just like nonstop, like we're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and donkey kicks. That's right. Work it. Good job, Wednesday. This is the hardest you're going to sweat all day, kind of a thing. And I was like, this is the worst. Like, I mean, I get why some people like it, but also it was not for me. So I'm putting it as a stretch, but I'm also laughing about it because in the grand scheme of things, it was fine. It was 3 classes. And in a way, it really helped me to lean into the gratitude of my current studio. And like, turns out I actually like it a lot more than I thought I did. So there's a little lesson in there for all of us, which is like, if you don't take messy action and if you're not willing to meet yourself on your growth edge and just try new things, then you're going to be stuck in like slight dissatisfaction for a long time. But if you're willing to try it and see, what happened for me is even though I didn't like the new experience, it shifted me much more into gratitude for what I already had, which was awesome. Okay, those are my stretches. I've got a few more celebrations to share. We're going to go through them a little more rapid fire here. And then I will, of course, share numbers for the month. Okay, so other celebrations. Faye has been working with a private pitching coach, and her pitching is improving every single game. It's getting so good, and she's loving it, and she's feeling so confident. So I'm like proud mama over here. I had a client pay in full for a year of fruition, which I'm just so thrilled with. She is like such a dreamy client. I feel so honored that I get to work with her over the next year. And it feels so fun that this incredible, intimate sisterhood council is going to grow. Jeff and I did almost daily hour-long walks together, and it's probably one of my favorite things ever. Like, our neighborhood's really hilly, so it's great from a workout perspective, but I feel like we've talked more in April than we've talked in a long time, and we talk all the time, like we're very close, but it's just really nice to have that hour with no devices, no kids, no distractions, to just connect with each other. And so that is definitely a new tradition that we'll be carrying forward. I was just feeling super in love with my clients and this work. That's always, but I had to put it on my list of celebrations because it's so true. The kids and I went up to Big Bear for spring skiing and had so much fun, and the kids got a lot better. So celebrating that. We did Easter brunch at like a bougie resort by us for the first time and really enjoyed that. And then one of my girlfriends and I went out for a night of dancing at this fun, like total throwback to my childhood country music bar. We learned how to line dance. So I know a line dance for God Bless Texas. Yes, I know, it's very impressive. I also did some volunteer mentoring for an organization called Nifty, and it's all about like developing the next generation of entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of like first generation, like immigrant students, and they've been putting together pitches for a pitch competition. And so I was able to give them a lot of really good feedback and had fun doing it. And then Jeff did a guys' weekend in Palm Springs. And I was just reflecting on how easy it is now to have a weekend here by myself with the kids and even navigating different sports stuff. Like, it's just not hard. They're in this season where it's fun, it's joyful, they're good listeners, they're pretty capable, and it's nice to just let my spouse have a weekend away and for him to not feel like, oh, Emily's probably having a hard time. You know what I mean? So that was April in one nutty little shell. And it was also a high revenue month for us. So for the agency, we collected $87,217 cash. And in coaching, I collected $25,528 cash for a total of $112,745. Thank you, universe. I receive more, please. So when you listen to this, feel free to drop into my DMs. Let me know something that you're celebrating from April. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I so appreciate every single listener of this show. Every time you guys DM me and let me know what you like about the show, what made an impact on you, it truly just makes my day. So appreciate you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. Before you go, I have something fun to share. Now, when you leave a review of the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, take a quick screenshot and send it to hi@emilywilcox.com. You'll be entered into a drawing to win a free one-on-one Voxer coaching day with me, and you help the show reach more new listeners. Such a win-win. I also invite you to follow me on Instagram @mmakesmoney, and to jump into my free Telegram community, The Money Club, which is linked in the show notes. Until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes.